Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the P1 podcast with Matt and Tommy. Now, with the laugh, you probably understand that we've had quite the long ending to the Las Vegas Grand Prix because some things have happened. A most monumental bombshell. We thought it was over. We've done an entire podcast, which you're going to listen to, by the way. A lot of it is, of course, still very accurate, still very, normal, right? That's all staying. Really some of it is insane, but it's actually quite funny to listen to the gradual of the sort of gradual increase of what is going on. I'm seeing
for the
more
context,
and more of
we
this.
were basically recording as the news came in, which is...
Are we going to do it together?
Let's
What are we doing? That was like a real big tee-up.
We could do it.
Okay. No, this is so weird. All right,
Three,
I'm just going to say it.
You say it.
Both McLarens have been disqualified from the Las Vegas Grand Prix. Yes, this is not the 1st of April. This is not April Fools. We are not trolling. We are not baiting. This is absolutely real.
I can't believe it. I genuinely can't believe it because
I am shell-shocked.
We have said this so many times, haven't we, about the title was over, and as we did the podcast, you'll get to listen to it after this bit, that we're basically saying Lando has basically got the trophy done, he barely needs to do anything now, and instead, the way this has gone means that we now have Lando Norris, Oscar Piastri, and Max Verstappen within a race win, with 2 races and a sprint to go.
So, I just want to say as well, we're doing something for the first time in a very long time. There are 37,000 people listening and watching live to us doing this part of the podcast because we are doing a live stream. We wanted to do something to be sort of, part of the P1 community and wait for the decision, which took so long. Damn long to come out. But we're finally here. We can all sort of just breathe a sigh of relief.
I can't breathe.
Well, yeah, you won't be. You're going to be absolutely insufferable
flapping.
whilst I try and tell you that Max can still win the championship. Be like, well, actually, I don't know about that one. So look, let's talk about it because we have to talk about what's changed now since the end of the race. So both McLarens have been disqualified from the Vegas Grand Prix, which is utterly insane. I can't believe I'm saying it out loud. We thought it was just going to be a Lando thing. We thought Lando was struggling for fuel. Would it be the fact of the fuel sample thing? Because that's what we were questioning. Lando was going slow in the last few laps. But no, it turns out to be the plank. The plank was the problem, not just with Lando's car, but with Oscar's as well. Let me get the full FIA document up because it's worth just reading out. Oh, they're very similar. In fact, they both had exactly the same measurements.
Which is crazy.
Which is mental. So the rear skids of car 4, and of course you can say 81 as well, were measured and found to be below the minimum thickness of 9mm specified under Article 3.5.9 of the technical regulations. The relevant measurements were RHS front, 8.88mm, and RHS rear, so basically the front and rear plank, 8.93mm. And essentially the measuring device was accurate to within 0.001 millimeter. Both measurements were the same by what we've seen in both the documents. And that was the reason for the disqualification. Why it took so long, I don't know. But this reminds me of Charles Leclerc in China, who had exactly the same problem. It was a double DSQ that day for Ferrari, but Lewis had a different problem. But
my
back
God,
to today,
how?
Huh?
These are the championship leaders, and as we've kind of mentioned before, they didn't need to push this much. Max was out of the championship, really. The only way that Max could have got back into this championship was if he won the race and they didn't score. And they have now been disqualified. That is the exact scenario that has happened. I think for context, we need to say that basically after the Brazilian Grand Prix, they believe that they've changed the way things have been done with the skid block because teams were using devices, they believed, that were expanding the titanium blocks. And basically, it's very interesting that this story had already come out that this was potentially happening, and within the very next race, McLaren have been disqualified with both their cars.
It's something that it's a very viable theory, I think, that this has come out after
Very coincidental
Brazil.
if it's not.
Very coincidental indeed. A lot of fans, a lot of people watching along with us were saying, look, we saw the sparks from both Lando and Oscar, and
even when Lando was cruising, the sparks were flying off the car.
And it's turned into a double disqualification, which I think we just need to just talk about that for a second. Obviously, this is the benefit of hindsight. Obviously, this is McLaren have been disqualified. How could this happen? But I'm also sat here as a fan going, if it was marginal, why are we even going down this route? It's utterly insane. McLaren, the only way they bring Max Verstappen into the World Championship is if they make a blunder like this, or if both of them have a crash or whatever. This is exactly what's happened. Now, I will say, of course, setting up a car is difficult, and also as well the race weekend that we had wet sessions, we had wet to dry sessions, we had interrupted free practice 2 at the end. And the talking point after quali was the fact that they hadn't done much long running, much heavy fuel running. So clearly McLaren, with that data, have not been able to sort a car setup that wouldn't drag their car along the ground as much as they predicted. And it's not an excuse, because it isn't. This is a generational fumble to bring Max Verstappen within a race win with 2 races and 1 sprint to go. It is, Tommy, categorically championship back on.
It is, and I think the thing what is absolutely insane, and a lot of people are getting maybe a little bit ahead of themselves, because we could go in, and this is the pessimistic me talking, that you could
I wondered when it would come out.
No. But we could go into Qatar and McLaren could still be very strong. As we said, the McLaren, if you look at the final 2 races, it's got McLaren kind of, it's their stomping ground. It's what should be suited for McLaren. But I think what maybe a lot of people that want a close championship or Max Verstappen fans are finding kind of very interesting is if this is indeed the case, that McLaren now can't run their cars as low as possible, are they going to have to raise their ride height and sacrifice a bit of performance going into the final 2 rounds, which then opens it up, because we can see how close it is, the pecking order. And as you said, Max Verstappen now needs Charles Leclerc, needs Mercedes, Ferrari. I know his teammate is very unlikely, but he needs people getting in the mix, because it's still 24 points. It's a lot, but it is, of course, doable. We've seen it before. He needs other teams getting in that mix. And if McLaren do have to raise their car and they can't perform to their maximum, they may, they could struggle going into the last 2 rounds, which would be insane.
Yeah, there's a lot of headlines, isn't there? There's a lot of talking points from this. I think the biggest one for sure is that Charles Leclerc missed out on a podium by 0.2 of a second. That will be the thing that really runs into Qatar, is the fact that, that is devastating. I will lose sleep tonight when I finally go to bed thinking about that. But let's talk about what it means for Lando first and foremost. He is still the championship favourite. 24 points clear of his teammate, who he has been outperforming for many, many races now. Max is the form driver, but for Lando, he can still finish second in every single race behind Max, the sprint and the 2 races, and be world champion. Obviously, the question that you've asked there is whether McLaren are actually going to be as fast as we expect in Qatar, seeing what we've just seen in Vegas. I think that's a very valid thing to wonder. But for Lando, I think now he is fully focused on what Max and Red Bull can do, because he has the measure of Oscar at the moment, and I think that will continue for the next 2 races. I don't think, as much as some people might wonder, is Lando going to bottle it, this, that, and the other, I don't think it's fair to say that, considering what he has proved in the last part of this season in particular. I still think he is the favourite to win the championship. I still think he probably will, but we have seen crazier things happen in this season already, and I feel as though it's going to be so fascinating now, because he doesn't have the buffer to Max Verstappen that he had coming into Vegas. It has been cut down tremendously from 49 to 24.
the hype. The hype has flipped on its head.
Yeah, the hype has flipped on its head. I mean, from a championship perspective, right? From an entertainment perspective, from a neutral / Charles Leclerc fan, this is amazing to watch the next two races. Yeah, the hype of it's gone massive. From a human level, I feel massively sorry for Lando, who did absolutely everything he needed to from a champion-elect perspective, finishing second behind Max. That was all he needed to do. And we go into this later on in the podcast as well before they both got disqualified.
Yeah.
But yeah, just mental scenes.
Yeah, because we were talking about the fact that Lando's basically all but won the championship now. He's got it won. And, he's probably in some Vegas nightclub somewhere, was celebrating the fact that, he's had a great race again, enjoying himself, thinking...
I don't know if he was celebrating.
Well, not celebrating.
I think he knew. I think he knew something was coming.
Yeah, but it is interesting that, he's... The absolute flip on its head. And I don't know how... Well, obviously, we no one knows how this is going to go. And you make a very good point of, Lando has proved himself under... the pressure in the kind of last few races. I think this is by far and away the biggest test, even more than last year. I think now that he's going to go from essentially being in his head when he crossed the line, thinking I've almost won the world championship. You've got to be thinking that at that moment, that I've almost won this world championship. To now, Max Verstappen, who we've said is a completely different ball game to being against Oscar Piastri, who's got the measure of now. Someone that we all saw what happened last year. Max drives very differently, and Max is going to now drive even more extreme with the opportunity of a world championship. And the pressure from Lando to go from almost believing he's won the world championship to now going in and thinking, how do I measure this risk versus reward? How do I play it against Max? Max is going to go for everything. I need to be cautious, but not too cautious. And the nerves, if he holds his nerves and wins the championship, it's about as much pressure as you could get, really, going into these final races for Max to be within a race win.
Now, let's talk about Oscar Piastri, who, of course, is still in this championship fight. I think he's the third favourite in this championship fight, or the least favourite, because there's only three of them still fighting. I'm actually seeing, because, again, this is utterly insane sort of scenario. We're live streaming, and I'm seeing a lot of people chatting away that Oscar's document has been recalled. Now, I wonder if that is because they've got the measurements wrong and they've copy and pasted it, because I can't imagine they had exactly the same measurements on both the front and the rear. So I'm not going to start saying Oscar Piastri is not going to get disqualified, but I feel as though maybe there's going to be a clarification from the start where we said, they've both got the same measurements. I don't think that's going to be the case. So either or, they're both still disqualified. I just think there might be a slight correction to what the document says. But for Oscar Piastri, in a weird, strange, odd way, this kind of works in his favour. If they're both going to get disqualified, it's when Lando outscores him, which is what happened. Obviously, in a better scenario, Oscar doesn't get disqualified and Lando does, and then it would have been 9 points, I believe, the gap between Lando and Oscar going into the final two races, and one sprint, of course. So for Oscar, it's a little bit of a saving grace to be 24 points behind rather than it would have been 30, I think, going into the final few weekends. He just needs to send it. He needs to absolutely just send it, even if he spins out trying to find time. He needs to find something if he wants to win this world championship, and it needs to be in the next session. In free practice 1, Oscar Piastri has to risk it all. And whether it's easier said than done with that, right? I know that for a fact. If you don't have confidence in the car, you don't have confidence. But Oscar, he's got to do something crazy. He's got to do something.
He kind of does, but also for Oscar, in a weird way, because his pace has been so poor, there's obviously been pictures and of him.
Sorry,
gone.
I just seen those docs come in. Yeah, I saw the first part and was like, oh my God, it was so close. But then the front was bad. So the front of his skid was 8.96 millimeters. And I was like, that's why I went but then the front, the LHS front, I don't understand these terms, was 8.96. The RHS front was 8.74. And the rear was 8.90.
Okay. So still disqualified. And Oscar, it's weird because Oscar was seen, him and Mark Webber almost smiling as they were leaving. Now, obviously, that could have just been a moment where we see this a lot with Formula One, where one picture can't tell you the whole context of it. But of course, deep down, it is weirdly a win for him, and because it's not only has it basically put Oscar kind of back towards Lando, I think it also is a little bit of a win, and this is a stretch, but Oscar needs everything now because he's, as we've said before, like he doesn't really show that he's got much left to give. The pressure on Lando, and Oscar wasn't giving that pressure on Lando, but you bet that Max Verstappen will. And if Max Verstappen and Lando start fighting and wheel banging and stuff, Oscar Piastri could be there to pick up the pieces. So that's another interesting dynamic, I think, which I think what makes it so fascinating is, yes, 24 points is a big gap going. It's not impossible. It is quite a big gap. Obviously, it's amazing to see that it's going, and it is just a race win. But I think the fact that it's 3 of them and 2 of them are teammates just adds even more spice into the fact that we've got this now.
Certainly. Now, another question also to sort of clarify, LHS and RHS means left-hand side and right-hand side. Thank you to the live stream chat for letting me know about that. It's great to have a little live audience. A question that on a lot of people's lips, does McLaren favour one driver? Do they finally put their eggs in Lando's basket? Because Max is level on points with Oscar. Well, if you go back to what Zach Brown, I believe, said a few races ago, they'd rather lose the World Drivers' Championship than back one of their drivers.
Here you go. Here's the scenario.
Now you've got to prove it. Because, you think of the scenarios, right? Say Qatar, the main race, Max is winning, Oscar's second, Lando's third. Oscar's only gaining 3 on Lando, but Max is gaining 10.
Where do they do?
Any other scenario,
what do they do? Because
you've swapped the 2 cars to help Lando, but they've already said and vehemently stated that they are not going to do that.
And you can't throw it away for Oscar Piastri in case something happens. And this is what I think I've said before about Sebastian Vettel in 2010. Everyone wanted them to back Webber because Sebastian Vettel was out of it because it looked like it was Webber versus Fernando Alonso, Red Bull versus Ferrari. And if they had backed Webber all the way, Webber would have lost the title, Fernando Alonso would have won it, and Sebastian Vettel wouldn't have had enough points to clinch it. So equally, they weirdly can't, even if it is an insane situation where it's almost gone. Obviously, like if it is impossible, they could do something. But Oscar's not gonna want to. Like, you can't let Oscar give up a chance for him to be within a champion, like going for that world championship into the final race, even if it is 24 points again or 25 because they're level on wins, so could win on countback. Like, so you can't deny him. So McLaren, yeah, they are going to have to stick to their guns and just let them both go for it.
Yeah, I'd imagine that probably Mark Webber has got in Oscar's contract, as long as he's mathematically in contention, he will not be a number 2 driver, if we're being completely honest with you there. So I imagine that McLaren will have to just play it out as is. So I guess the question, I've already stated that it's championship back on, but Tommy, can Max Verstappen win this world championship?
He can. He absolutely can. Will he? Obviously, like, I'm going to say this, I still think Lando is definitely the favourite. Obviously, the hype now of him being back in the title and it feeling really close, we're all super excited, and it's like, oh my god, like Lando still very much has it in his hands. His form has been amazing, as long as McLaren don't fumble again, but we have seen McLaren fumble more than a few times, not just this year, but in their history. But Max, we're weirdly in the same situation we were kind of a few races ago, where he still needs to be perfect. Had he been eking out the lead and Brazil had gone his way and Mexico gone his way, it's almost like de facto the same, that he would have ended up kind of about 20, 24 points or whatever behind 25, etc., going into these kind of final 2 races anyway, with the leaps that he was taking into the lead. So it's kind of flipped it. So those last 2 races where it didn't work for him has kind of changed that now, and now he's within it, but he is still a long way to go. But he can absolutely, do it. He just needs to be absolutely perfect. And as we mentioned at the start, he needs a Charles Leclerc, George Russell, Kimi Antonelli on their absolute best to basically be finishing second, third, and fourth to make sure that the McLarens are finishing fifth, sixth, seventh, or whatever.
I do absolutely love that this F1 World Championship has thrown you so many insane scenarios to keep Max Verstappen in this World Championship.
Mad, isn't it?
The fact that you said, Max, he's so far behind, he's completely out of the championship, then goes on a ridiculous run of wins out of nowhere, like out of absolutely nowhere. Red Bull get fast with Max at the helm. You then have, they have to crash, wouldn't they? McLaren would have to come together. They come together in the sprint. They literally both DNF. Max wins the sprint. And now you have a McLaren double DSQ to keep the hopes, that sort of thin flame, alive. If this was Charles Leclerc in your situation, I would be in hospital right now. There would be no saving me in terms of believing. Of course, you're a lot more of a, let's not say pessimistic, let's say negatively realistic.
Negatively, yeah, I think that's that.
I don't know how you're coping, mate.
No, it is. It makes it like, as I mentioned at the end of Brazil, I said, like, in a weird way, it's like rip the Band-Aid off of like, well, at least I know it's over now and can kind of relax. I didn't expect to be running into my wardrobe to get the "But Daddy, I Love Him" t-shirt and put it back on. Because, it is very much like a possibility, and the pressure and the expectation will just ramp up so much. And Max, it's a lot to ask, but he's got nothing to lose. It is also incredibly scary thought that we are getting to those 9 Spain point scenario that we said. Imagine if it cost him the title, those points they lost in Spain. And the way this championship is going looks like it could literally be like a 9-point gap at the end.
Could easily be. And then, I can imagine it'll be a very depressing podcast at the end of Abu Dhabi, should that be the case, Tommy. But we will get there in only a matter of weeks. And that is it from this reaction to the McLaren DSQ. Don't worry, the rest of the podcast is coming after this. So lots more discussion about everything else that went on in the race.
Including
so you can enjoy that.
Some badly aged things, but also a lot of it will make sense, but there are some funny bits that you'll basically look back on and go, oh, that's funny in context. And also, of course, you'll get to see the live reaction as it came in, because we're recording.
It's a great listen, trust me. You're going to really enjoy this.
It's a lot of fun.
We will see you very soon, and I will now pass you over to past Matt and Tommy.
Goodbye.
Right, before we get into everything, firstly, we've been nominated for an Autosport Award. If you haven't watched the last couple of podcasts, this is our biggest one, so I thought I'd shout it out right here as well. There'll be a link at the top of the description if you want to vote for us to be Creator of the Year, which is something which would mean an absolutely insane amount to both myself and Tommy to win this award in January. So if you want to support us, if you love this podcast, the one thing I ask you is to go and click that link, and it literally takes like 5 seconds to vote for us for Creator of the Year. You don't have to sign up or anything like that. Just go and click our name. We would love the support, and it would be an amazing thing to win. Now, quick shout out as well to our wonderful patrons who'll be getting extra chat, as they have been the entire season at the end of every single race review podcast. Thank you to each and every one of you for signing up to the P1 Patreon, as well as enjoying other perks such as ad-free listening, access to the Discord, early access to P1 live shows, etc., etc. So big shout out to all of you, and look forward to a bit more chat at the end of this podcast. Now, let's begin, shall we, Tom Bellingham, with my most memorable moment, and probably the biggest moment of the race. Turn 1, lap 1, Lando versus Max. We said it, didn't we, after qualifying, that should Max even get the smallest of sniffs, the smallest of opportunities, he was going to have a look down the inside. And Lando, quite frankly, he did the right thing. He had a reasonable start. I think Max was ever so slightly better. Lando sensed Max is going to take the inside here if I don't do something about it. He goes aggressively to the inside, which is exactly what Max Verstappen would do. But sadly for him, misjudges the braking ever so slightly, locks up, runs wide. Max goes through, George does an amazing move around the outside of Lando as well, and then into the braking zone of the next corner. And yeah, we were kind of questioning what was going to happen at this point. Lando was looking quite slow in that beginning phase of the Grand Prix as well. But more specifically on the turn one moment, yes, it was Lando's mistake. I do actually, in a weird way, I do like the fact he went aggressive and wasn't scared to show Max the wall almost, which is what Max Verstappen's and the aggressive defensive drivers of this world do. But yeah, Lando wasn't able to fully execute on that one and gave up the lead because of it.
Indeed, yeah. I think there's been so many times, hadn't there? Like Lando's starts have been questioned a lot throughout his career. Obviously, he's improved them a hell of a lot in the last few races, and something we've praised him for. But yeah, basically my reaction to the start was, "Oh my God, Lando, I'm not familiar with your game." Oh, okay, you've gone off.
I am familiar.
Yeah, but like yeah, he went for the very aggressive move, which he had to kind of do because, as we said, Max, even the slightest sniff, or even 0.1 of a sniff, he will go. Are we
going to just say sniff constantly?
I don't know why we keep saying that.
I know we both own dogs now, but like, come on.
But yeah,
award-nominating podcast.
Yeah, vote for us for Creator of the Year. I think the move. Yeah, like he basically had to go cover that inside to stop Max, but unfortunately for him, he just went in way too hot. We've seen that a lot, and we saw it with a few drivers behind, which we'll talk about later, that did it even more so. But unfortunately for Lando, yeah, ran wide, and then in the way he kind of rejoined as well, and kind of rejoined to try and get Max, it almost like meant that he had to get out of the throttle, and that's what allowed George Russell around the outside. Of course, in a way, I'm surprised he was so aggressive, and I guess it shows to him that he still really wants to like win the races and prove a point, and put one on Max Verstappen, because of course, as we know, like he is and can afford to be almost in cruise control now with the championship in terms of just the way he needs to play it. It's just picking up the odd points now, and he'll be fine. But yeah, he of course made up for it by passing George and finishing second.
Absolutely, and I think as well, in an alternate reality, yes, he lost a couple of positions at the start, but it like with Max and how aggressive he may well have been on the inside, Lando could well have lost more. Had he allowed Max down the inside to squeeze him on the exit.
Max would have shoved him wide in the hope that Lando would have lost to like 4 drivers probably.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've seen it before with Max, haven't we? With both his fights with Lewis Hamilton and, of course, occasionally with Lando as well. So in a weird way, it wasn't that bad. In like the whole championship context, dropping to third when you've got Carlos Sainz behind who's never going to put an impression on you wasn't the end of the world. He just needs to finish the race and finish on the podium, which is exactly what he did. Question from P1 Patreon member Sophie. Can we start seeing Lando play it smart instead of aggressive on the remaining tracks? With a lead, he just has to protect. Look, I just kind of mentioned it there. I think Lando, of course, still wanted to win the race, as you said, Tommy, but I firmly believe that he has the championship in his head now, in the sense of managing things. Like, look, he doesn't need to risk anything. So it's going to be interesting should we have more wheel-to-wheel battles in Qatar, or Qatar specifically, I would say, where he can win the World Championship. The best way to go about things is, yes, play it smart. But we know with Formula One drivers, they want to win all the time. So this will be a very interesting thing to keep an eye on with Lando, because the World Championship is the biggest prize. Losing to Max in Vegas is not something he'll remember should he win the World Championship come the end of the season. So I hope everyone in McLaren, for Lando's sake, is saying, look, just play it smart, settle for second. And it was a bit weird, and there have been many weird McLaren team radios.
I know exactly what you're going to say.
Will Joseph telling Lando, who was sort of like questioning, I think, about his race and what he was doing and how he's going to catch Max and et cetera, et cetera. And then Will Joseph said, just do more. I'm like, No, we don't.
What are they doing?
That's an insane team radio to say to a championship leader who's never won a world championship before. I'm not saying he doesn't know how to win a world championship, but why would you even try and egg him on to go for the win when your championship rival, your closest one, Oscar, is fighting for P5 at that time? I think I just found that very bizarre. Of course, Lando was fine and finished second, but like just managing his thoughts and feelings, that is the prime objective, or one of the prime objectives of a team radio engineer and a strategist, is to make sure your driver doesn't try and do something silly. And I did find that, it just came to me now, I found that very odd.
100%. That is literally the point I was about to make going into this in this race, that I thought that decision was absolutely insane. Like, did McLaren know, like, it was their team, what happened in 2007, where Lewis Hamilton basically had to cruise to, he's basically was in the position Lando Norris is now, where you only needed to cruise to like a 5th place and a 7th place or something in the final 2 races, and he would have won the championship easily. And yet they went for broke. They tried to get the victory. They left him out on tyres. He obviously messed up in the pit entry, and that's what ended up ultimately costing him the world championship. Why they're telling him to push so much? Because he almost ran out of fuel as well with the fact that he was pushing so hard. Like, it's absolutely insane that McLaren would basically be like, "Come on, let's go get Max now." I know. Of course, like, they're racers, they want to win. But P2 was always going to be the basically you've all but won the championship. Like, Lando's all but won the championship now. Let's be honest with the position that he was in. So why you risk kind of a disqualification if you run out of fuel, or Lando making a mistake, or doing something like that? Like, it seemed very odd that they would go so ham on fighting Max for the victory. And this is where we always get the comments of like, don't you guys love F1? Yes, like, I want to see it. I want to see drivers go for the win. But if I use my brain of like, if I was a team member, I'd be like, Lando, you're going to win the world championship. These are two different things. Like, of course I want to see Lando go for the victory, like, because I want to see entertainment. It would have been amazing to watch them battle for the win. As we said, it wasn't the greatest race, and we wanted to see more wheel-to-wheel action. So as an F1 fan, I want to see it. I want to see them go for broke. But if you're a team member, like, you don't need to go that ham with it.
Exactly. And I think as well, I can't believe I'm about to use a football analogy because I don't really watch football, but in the sense of, when you're watching your favourite team and they're 1-0 up, you want to see them score 4 or 5, but if they park the bus to secure the victory or the win, that's the play. That's the strategic play. And I think this is what sometimes people who listen to the podcast get confused about. And you're quite right in bringing that up, Tommy, is that we're talking from a McLaren perspective right now, that managing Lando and saying, look, P2's fine, mate. Whether they want to come across that way, maybe they're so concerned about not being this team that goes for victory. I don't know. We can open up a can of worms with that one. But I did find that a little bit strange, and I'm not surprised you did as well. Question from Rob JVW Thompson. Did Lando slow enough to save enough fuel for the sample at the end of the race?
Yes. Sorry, Max Verstappen fans, but yes, he did.
And Oscar Piastri fans.
And Oscar Piastri fans as well, of course. He did. There was a radio with 2 laps to go that was basically like, well done, we've done enough now. But what a crazy situation at the end. And this is, again, we go back to that point of like, why are you pushing so hard to try and win the race if this was going to be an issue? Because, of course, we say that Lando's all but won the championship now, but had he ran out of fuel or been disqualified or had an issue or whatever, then it very much would be championship back on, because you'd lose those 18 points, and it's looking a lot closer. But he did save a huge amount of fuel. The team said he'd done enough, and they don't seem to think it's an issue. I know everyone on social media and bantering in the watch along, but also maybe not bantering, about like looking at every single Lando facial expression on the podium and being like, oh, he looks nervous. He's not spraying the champagne. Like,
the way he has sipped that champagne bottle. No, that's not the normal
the way he
Lando
got in that
drinking
pink
motion.
Lego car and put his sunglasses on. That's a guy that's worried about getting disqualified.
Yeah, he
for
didn't
sure.
laugh enough at Terry Crews doing the meme.
It's a ridiculous situation.
Just to clarify with this, you are saying from the team radio we've heard, rather than there's been FIA clearance.
No, there's not been FIA clearance.
Let's be real here, because the way you're saying that is kind of being like, there's a closed book.
No.
We know for a fact when we're doing this podcast sometimes, Tommy, we get FIA notifications come through, usually about a Ferrari double DSQ.
But I'll say don't hold your. What I'll say is obviously, of course, nothing is never confirmed. But don't hold your breath. We're not here like on tenterhooks waiting for it, basically.
No,
because
we're absolutely
because
1% of the time.
But it is crazy how much. But it is crazy how much he lost at the end there. Like 15 seconds in 3 laps. Like I watched the onboard. They were showing it on the SkyPad. Like the lift and coast was crazy. Ferrari levels.
Yeah, I knew. I was going to try and cover the Ferrari joke, and you said it already. Good stuff. Okay, let's go into this next one because I'm about to pop off. Tanner Collins _3 asked the question: has F1 production totally lost the plot on what race fans want to see? How did they not show Lando Norris limping along at the end of the race until the last corner? Thank you. I was losing my mind over the last few laps. I am lucky enough to have like little live timing stuff, and you can see the sectors. And Lando was literally losing like a second and a half each sector. And we're watching not even overtakes. We're literally just toodling along with George Russell, maybe it was Kimi Antonelli, whoever it was. Meanwhile, the championship leader is running out of fuel and losing 4 seconds a lap or something to Max ahead, and George was, of course, not going as quickly as that. But one more lap and George might have been close enough. And we saw not a singular onboard. And we have been complimenting the TV direction of late because they have been using more mini boxes. They have been trying. But my God, did they have an intern in that had never watched Formula One before? Because we had a reasonable race, nothing crazy. I don't think it was a particularly exciting one in the grand scheme of things. This was like, oh wow, is Lando going to DNF? Yeah. Is Lando going to get overtaken by George? And all we could do, every single one of us Formula One fans, is stare at a timing tower, which, by the way, they then kept removing and showing track position changes. I don't give a shit. I nearly swore on the podcast. That's crazy. I don't do that on the podcast. But you know what I'm saying? I don't care about anything other than the gap and an onboard, and they showed none of it.
It was a maddening thing, because the thing that gets me here is we talk about like Drive to Survive and how the Drive to Survive generation of Formula One, and how maybe that doing it over the top with all this like drama and stuff.
Over-dramatising. You were going to say it.
Yeah.
You were going to say it.
My 4 a.m. brain was like, I'm not going to get this word out.
Don't even start on 2020 versus 2022.
Exactly. Yeah, don't give me numbers now. But the fact that we say this, and sometimes they play like little radio message to add to the drama. This was the golden opportunity to add some drama to this race. Max Verstappen winning, 25-point swing if Lando runs out of fuel, play the radio messages of them panicking, show Lando lifting and coast, show the gap to Russell, get the AWS graphic of closing in 2 laps or whatever. This is your chance to like ham up this drama, because you don't even need to fake it here, because this is your opportunity to do something. And I can't believe they didn't even like cut to Lando at any point in this situation, because this is the world championship leader that's almost like, running out of petrol across the finish line, and one of the rivals going for the world championship is about to win the race, and he's pulling away hand over fist. Had he run out of fuel, like, that would have been like the pivotal moment in the championship for drama, and they just were acting like, we made jokes, didn't we, on the watch along of like, you always have to like ham it up. Not everyone's going to be me and go, no, it's over, because like Formula One as an entertainment broadcast need to be like, look, it's close. Look at the championship fight. It's still very much on. It's mathematical and all that kind of stuff. That was their opportunity to do that, and they didn't take it. Crazy decision.
They didn't, and also it wasn't even sort of, you couldn't forgive them with the fact it was like half a lap at the end of the race. It was happening with 3 laps to go. That was when Lando started, I think, to sort of fall off the pace dramatically, right? So they had enough time to, at the bare minimum, show the onboard. Okay, if they didn't have the graphics ready because they're getting ready for Mickey Mouse with their fountains, maybe they weren't ready to activate all of the bells and whistles. Fine.
You do
but
wonder
just
if
show us the onboard.
You do wonder if they are like distracted or doing other things, getting ready for the end and to do something.
Race.
Because of course,
okay,
the thing that like really ticked us off this year and set this whole precedent of team radio rants across the whole Formula One fan community was Singapore, when they missed Alonso and Hamilton basically like slowing down on those final laps, and they didn't show a second of it where Alonso was catching him, and they missed that. And then you thought, okay, they've learnt their lesson. TV direction is looking a lot better. They're showing mini boxes. They're doing this. They're doing that. That was the perfect opportunity to show that you'd learnt from those mistakes. But unfortunately, here we are again.
Here we are again, indeed. Okay, away from the TV production now. Question from P1 Patreon member Blackson. How happy will Lando be about the results? With McLaren's pace deficit, this was the best result he could have hoped for.
Very happy. I think once he gets over the fact that, he'll be playing it in his head that, he wanted to make the point, to the point where he obviously dropped the F-bomb about the fact that he messed up the start with Max. And we know Lando, really wants to. You can tell Lando really wants to put one over on Verstappen, I think, as well. He's not won out in many wheel-to-wheel battles with him and stuff, and I think he really wanted to show, like, look, I can fight Max here, and obviously it didn't play out that way for him. But he's all but won the championship now. Like, Oscar Piastri is nowhere at all. Like, it is insane what's happened to Piastri. We say it every week, but it's just getting worse. He's like completely anonymous while Lando's fighting for race victories. Oscar's basically trying to score like decent points. Like, it's absolutely insane, like his run of form. So yeah, he's going to be more than happy, I think, with the result.
For sure, yeah. Second place is absolutely fine enough in this championship context. Speaking of that lockup, I think it was worth just sharing David Coulthard, his analysis of the lap 1, turn 1 incident is that he said Lando Norris. This was in commentary. Lando Norris tried to play Max Verstappen at his own game. The problem is that he doesn't know the rules of that game. Which, I mean, DC is obviously a massive Max fan as well. So I can't believe he said that in the commentary. But still, it's looking more and more likely that Lando will be world champion. So I'm sure he will not be. He won't care.
Like it's looking so good, isn't it? Like now for him, he only needs to finish. Well, he doesn't really need to do anything in the next race, and he'll be fine. And obviously, we all know that it's a track very well suited to McLaren. In fact, the last two are. So this in theory, had Max been a lot closer, and this pains me to say it, like this would have been the race, I think, that there could have been a big point swing, because had it been a dry qualifying, who knows where Lando might have ended up. Instead, he put in that brilliant pole position and had pace at the end to obviously fight. But yeah, he was struggling quite a bit at the start, and who knows how that would have gone.
All right, Tommy, let's go to your most memorable moment, and I wonder which driver you're going to pick.
Well, it's not Max Verstappen again. It's Kimi Antonelli, of course. And as we mentioned about Max Verstappen and what might have been with his season and winning the race had he been a bit closer, I think Kimi Antonelli, what might have been. Because my word, what a final stint from him in the. It's not only the jump start, it's the qualifying. Of course, he started way down the order. Poor qualifying. Had it been a dry qualifying, and he qualified much higher up, a podium was definitely on. Who knows what else? Because Kimi Antonelli's pace at the end was absolutely sensational. And I think for Antonelli again, I know George didn't have the best issue, but if you take away Kimi's 5-second penalty, which I know was deserved, but like for the context of like his driving, you know, he's finishing like 2 seconds behind George when George started at the front and Kimi started at the back. Of course, the strategy worked in his favour, but another race where Kimi Antonelli looked so strong. Last time out, of course, absolutely brilliant. Here again, can't believe he had the pace to just pull away. He thought he was a sitting duck, and we were kind of having conversations on the watch along of, is he going to pit potentially and then try and fly through the field? But you know, he even managed to just about hang on to the point where he pipped Charles Leclerc in the end as well. So yeah, a really impressive performance from Kimi. But I think you look at it, and I know like a win would be obviously a huge stretch, but like had he qualified higher up, he could have been in the fight like George was, fighting at the front.
It was an excellent race from Kimi. Such a shame that he got knocked out in Q1. I am of the belief that Kimi was on the best strategy. The hard tyres was definitely better than the mediums today. That's nothing not to take away from his race, but I feel as though, I don't know, in a weird, like the drive is amazing and his pace was ridiculous at the end of that stint. It just makes me wonder like what happened to the hard tyres. I think Kimi kept it in a very good window. I think George mentioned in the cool down car with Terry Crews, you kind of heard him a little bit talk about the fact of he'd sort of maybe hurt his tyres a little bit too much at the beginning of the race, and that's what caused him to fall off. But George fell off in both stints, in fairness. So look, I think Kimi did a brilliant job. It's hard. We're not comparing apples with apples because there were two different strategies here, and Kimi, came through the field. I don't know. I'm trying to figure. It doesn't make sense. Like, why does 48 lap old hard tires? Why was that like the best thing to do?
They got like a second wind as well, didn't they? Where it looked like they were falling off, and then suddenly he was just like, "Actually, I've got loads of pace. See you later."
But no, these are all kind of question marks. But the facts are that Kimi did a brilliant job. And it is a shame because off the back of Brazil, of course, where we were hyping him up massively, he could have beaten George again for sure in this race. Would he have fought Lando and Max? I'm not so sure. I do feel as though Max, especially Max, had enough in the locker. Whether Lando would have been a bit vulnerable potentially, but these are all ifs, buts, and maybes. There's this is a different alternate reality where Tommy goes to bed and wonders if Kimi Antonelli would have won the Las Vegas Grand Prix and his prediction would have come in. But yeah, phenomenal work from Kimi. Just such a shame about quali, and of course as well the 5-second penalty. Where when I looked at the replay, I was like, I don't know if I'm just blind.
We missed it. I think he rolled forward. I think at one point.
Like I've got it here. I'm going to put it in maximum screen. Oh wow, yeah. The wheel. Is it oscillates? I think that's a word. Where it kind of rolls forward by like that much just before the lights go out. And I think he would have gotten away with that had he parked a little bit further back in his grid box. But clearly he's put it right on the limit, rolled forward a matter of centimetres, and then gets a penalty. So,
because I said that in the watch along that drivers have rolled forward before and got away with it. Max comes to mind. I think it was Australia that time, Lando in Saudi, where they have rolled a bit. But because they're further back, it's not set the sensor off, if you like. So yeah, unfortunate for him.
Unfortunate indeed. A question. P1 Patreon member Hades Ash. With a performance like that and other recent ones, is Kimi a title contender next year with a good enough car? I am not jumping on the recency bias bandwagon. To be a world champion, you have to be consistent over the course of an entire year. Kimi has not shown that yet. It's his rookie season. It's very unlikely for him to have shown that this season. But if he continues on this run of form, absolutely. He has been so impressive the last couple of weekends, qualifying aside in Vegas. To say he'll be a title contender next year, I think is doing George Russell a disservice. I think George Russell has been brilliant this season once again, and most importantly, been consistent. Just always there, always fighting in the top 5. Kimi has had stinkers this year. Let's not forget. It's not just been phenomenal drives. So I'm not going to say next year is title contender. Sort of, he's not in the realm of that just yet. It's going to take him a few years, perhaps similar to an Oscar Piastri trajectory. But if Mercedes roll out with a Mercedes, so if Mercedes roll out with Mercedes, if Mercedes roll out with a car next year that is the fastest, I believe George Russell will be world champion. There's no doubt in my mind. But Kimi could, definitely pick up some wins next year, should that be the case.
I think Kimi could surprise people in the same way. I know it's aged incredibly badly now to say this based on how he's ended the season, but no one gave Oscar a prayer at the start of this year in terms of he's much less experienced than Lando. He's not really there, and then of course he had that amazing start to the season where he looked really comfortable in the car. I'm not saying that will happen, but I think if Mercedes do deliver a very good car, and if not the best car, I do think Kimi will push George a lot harder next year than what he's done this year, of course, with just a second year under his belt. But I don't think over a season Kimi would be able to beat George Russell with just how...
okay.
It's the consistency. It's the consistency.
In the live shows, you were a lot more Antonelli sort of hyped.
I was like, it depends. Like if Kimi in the last two races is looking comfortable and is looking like he's quicker than George in the races, then it's Kimi Antonelli world champion. Choo-choo. Here we go.
All right. Yeah.
But it is that consistency that wins you championships really at the end of the day, isn't it? So that's what I think George has as his game.
Okay, next question. P1 Patreon member Captain Ovs 3420. Kimi managed to do 48 laps of 50 on a single set of hard tyres and still had the same pace as the others around him. Genuinely, what are Pirelli doing?
Well, I think, and I've said it so many times, that I do think teams get baited by the fact that in 2012 tyres hit this cliff and they blow up, and oh my God, because how many times this year have we seen teams be able to take tyres so much further and the drop-off is nowhere near as much as they thought it was? Max Verstappen in Brazil. Let's go back. Let's get a time machine. Go back. Don't do that last pit stop. No. But again, the way we've seen the Pirellis this year, Lawson, in Brazil doing all those laps on the medium, which were of course the equivalent of what the hard tyre was here, taking in the C3, I think it was. And there's been many races this year, like Lando in Hungary. I know that's a very hard thing to overtake at, but where you kind of go, oh, it's never a one stop, and then they do a one stop and it works out. Like, the Pirellis can be pushed a lot further than I think some teams give them credit for, and they can go much longer, and the teams are so worried about them like falling off this cliff, and there is obviously performance there, but I don't feel like we see this cliff as much as we used to back in the day, because what surprised me most in that was Kimi was able to unlock performance again out of that tyre and kind of pick up speed after such a long time. What are Pirelli doing? I guess, they're not. If you grew up watching in your 2012s and stuff where they were bought on to make tyres that were, would last about 3 laps and then they need to make 6 pit stops a race, I can understand the frustration, but these are the tyres we've got.
They are indeed. I think for the whole Pirelli debate, this example today after Las Vegas, what we've seen, I don't think, firstly, about what are Pirelli doing? Pirelli can't make specific tyres for each Grand Prix. Like, let's be, as much as we're Formula One fans, we live in dream worlds and we want everything to be perfect, to be 2 stops, 3 stops, whatever. Like, Pirelli, it's either a 1 or 2 stop this year. And they don't. They have the C1 all the way through to the C6, which has been introduced this year. C6, of course, being the softest of tyres. And I'm going to back Pirelli a little bit here with the fact that they have many things to. This podcast is not sponsored by Pirelli. They have many things to factor in, not least safety, but also Like, tracks change so much. Like, Vegas was cold. It's a completely different circuit to, say, Qatar, which is literally next week, where we are getting a mandatory 2-stop because they can't go more than 25 laps on a set of tyres. And I don't know.
There's only so many simulations you can do.
Yeah,
the only way to find out how good the tyres are is to get 20 Formula One cars to do a race, and obviously that can't happen until the race. So it's all a bit hindsight, really.
So we're not going to get this dream situation of a 2-stop every single time, because that is a dream of ours which will never come true. So
unless they do the 3 mandatory tyre rule.
Yeah, but that's more on the FIA. That's more on Formula One to mandate that rule. For Pirelli, I don't know. Because we saw as well, they are so fragile. So Pirelli have created a tyre where the driver has to do a very good job in keeping it in a good window. Because we're slandering Pirelli now for Kimi being able to do 48 or 50 laps. Look at George Russell.
George Russell's struggling.
He fell off an absolute cliff. This cliff that we think doesn't happen. George Russell fell off a cliff. Not as much as the 4 or 5 seconds we saw in 2012 or whenever it was, but it was enough for Kimi to be able to catch him because he kept his tyres in this really amazing narrow working window. So it's not as if we saw 14, 15 drivers all doing 48 laps on the hard tyres. Kimi Antonelli was the exception today, and I think Kimi deserves a lot of praise for that because he kept them in a very solid working window and made and created an amazing race for him. So yeah, no Pirelli slander this time, at least from me. P1 Patreon member Mike Savage F1. We're now over to Oscar Piastri. Is Oscar just going to hold on to P2 with the final tracks favouring McLaren? Oh, this is a difficult one. I firmly believe that, yes, McLaren will be the fastest package around Qatar, but I think Max will still be there. I do genuinely believe Max will still fight for a podium and especially fight Oscar. Maybe not Lando. We'll see if Lando wins by 30 seconds. But Oscar's not got the pace. He just does not have the pace, and I firmly believe Max is going to finish second in the Drivers' Championship now. I believe that coming into Vegas, and Oscar showed, sadly, no signs of recovery in comparison to his teammate Lando, who was, of course, on pole position and then finished in a very, I was going to say comfortable P2, minus the fuel issue, a comfortable P2. Qatar is probably number one for McLaren, in my opinion, of tracks they should be quick at. They were quick at it before they were dominating. So if Oscar cannot beat Max in Qatar, Max, I think, undoubtedly will finish second in the championship after Abu Dhabi, should everything go fine and smooth and no DNFs.
I don't think it matters what with Oscar, what favours McLaren, because he's got nothing, sadly. We've seen it. It's just been a trend now for the last, all the way up to the US Grand Prix, or back at the US Grand Prix. We go back to the United States Grand Prix, and Lando Norris, I think, had he got past Leclerc quicker, may have challenged for the victory there, challenge match for the victory. Oscar finished 30 seconds off the lead in P5. Mexico, Lando wins easily. Oscar's 42 seconds off in P5. So you can argue, if Lando's winning by 30 seconds, that's a track that's, very good for McLaren. Brazil, Lando wins the race. Oscar's 15 seconds behind. So he's got, Lando's winning races and things, and Oscar's nowhere. So I think even if we get a situation, where McLaren are heavily suited, and I think they will be to the last two tracks, Oscar's form, unfortunately, is so bad that it doesn't really matter for him, and that's the worrying sign. So I see Max snatching P2. Like I just think the form of Oscar is so poor at the moment. He just doesn't seem to have anything. Even like watching him in his wheel-to-wheel racing today was such a hard watch, because this is a driver who has put in my opinion, two of the best moves we've seen this year, hands down. The move on Charles Leclerc, I think it was, at Monza around the outside, the first Lesmo, and on Lewis Hamilton in Australia. And we've praised how daring he is with his wheel-to-wheel racing and stuff. And, he was stuck behind, struggling to pass people that he should have got past, I think, quite easily. He's just got nothing at the moment.
I'm not even joking. Lando's car's been taken for further investigation. I was slightly distracted when you were saying that. My dad just messaged me, Lando under investigation, kiss, kiss. And I was like, 4?
He's joking.
And he's, no. I've just typed in Lando, and apparently Ted has said the FIA has taken Lando's car for more checks. Why would my dad do this?
No,
you were saying a fantastic point.
I've not seen this from anyone, though. No one else has messaged
Ted
it.
Kravitz is a highly reputable source. Right, what? My dad just can't drop this bombshell and then leave. Where have you heard this?
I've not seen this anywhere. I'm looking now. I am
live
anything.
On the podcast. Please explain. Like, you can't just drop that. I've just typed in Lando and I'm just... What?
No, I've not seen anything. I can't see a single journalist.
A bait graphic of...
Yeah, I just saw that as well.
Disqualified. What? No. Okay, this is all going in the podcast. People love just random off-the-cuff stuff.
Ted Kravitz on Sky F1 has confirmed... No, I've just seen, yeah.
Okay, no, but we're getting my dad's thoughts, because you can't just drop that and just bounce, you know what I'm saying?
Hello.
Hi, Dad. I'm mid podcast. Tom is making a great point. What is going on with Lando? You can't just drop that.
Sorry, but
it's okay.
I thought you might be investigating.
No. Is he? What have you heard?
It's about the fuel.
Yeah.
And there's another thing that they're investigating. They brought him back up, and they're investigating something else. They're not sure what yet. Ted's not sure, but
okay.
I just thought I'd keep you updated.
So this is very important. This is going out to hundreds of thousands of people. So, Dad, don't be this has to be a reputable source.
Well, this is Ted's notebook.
Ted's notebook. We can all blame Ted if it's wrong.
All right. We'll all blame Ted if it's wrong then. All right. Yeah, thanks, Dad. Appreciate you keeping me up to date. All right. Text me if you see anything else. Love you. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Oh my God. I mean, my dad just loves just dropping absolute bombshells whilst I'm recording occasionally.
If I was wearing a smartwatch right now, my heart rate has just doubled.
The funniest thing is, Tommy, right? For the first, 10 or 15 minutes of the podcast, I was genuinely deliberating at what point would I pretend that Lando was being investigated, just to see that 1% of you be like, championship back on. Okay. Well, look, we're going to continue to record and talk about the rest of the race. And if something happens, Tommy might faint. If oh my God, that's crazy. Okay. Right. Okay. Where were we? Because I've completely Oscar.
Oscar's got nothing left. Oscar's got nothing left.
Okay. Well, Jesus. All right, mate. Sorry, Oscar. I'm sure you don't.
Sorry, Oscar.
Podcast,
it's true. It's sad.
He's got something left. Like, he wasn't completely.
He
wasn't like 12th. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's got some pace, but just not the pace of Lando.
My God, that interview was a tough watch with him afterwards. He knows
after quali, he literally looked like he'd been crying.
The post-race interview, he was like, he'd basically conceded the championship. He just said that he needs more than just performances, and even the performances aren't coming.
Speaking of Oscar, because it's worth talking about, is the Turn 1 incident with Liam Lawson.
Yes,
I've seen the FIA doc. So it was no further action for this Lawson Piastri incident. And the reason for which they have said is car 30 made a move to the right and collided with car 81. However, in mitigation, car 30 made the move to avoid colliding with the rear of car 63, whose driver locked up to avoid a collision with car 55. All right, so a chain of events. In view of this and the fact that this was a lap 1, turn 1, we determined no further action. I thought this was very borderline, to be honest with you. George has locked up and pinched the apex, and I guess I can see now where the FIA is coming from in terms of it is lap 1, turn 1, and Lawson he's not tried to make a move on Oscar. It was avoiding action,
avoiding Russell. Yeah,
but at the same time, I'm like, geez, like if I'm Oscar in that position, I'm absolutely fuming that I've been yeeted out of the way, and it is no further action. But I guess that is Is that what you would call racing on lap 1, turn 1? I think it's very borderline.
Yeah, well, Oscar made a fair point in his post-race interview. Was basically I got penalised for essentially not penalised, but I actually tried to brake into the corner normally because it's all right saying, oh, Liam Lawson was avoiding Russell, but it's because he was about to slam into the back of him because he got too hot going into the corner. So, yeah, I think Lawson's very lucky to get away with that one. I mean, obviously, I think fortunately for the FIA and the whole situation, it didn't really make too much of a difference in the race, and obviously Lawson's damaged his own car. I know they always say we don't take the consequence, but had Oscar been, had Lawson been fine, or even Oscar Piastri's front left wheel gone off,
so true.
You just know for a fact that he's getting a 10-second penalty.
It's so true, isn't it? Because it isn't. It's always the incident, but you make a very good point. If Oscar's front wing comes off, Lawson's getting a penalty for that, hands down.
100%.
Yeah, it's very strange, isn't it? So back to the Lando thing very quickly, Tommy, because this is, of course, this is insane potential breaking news. Adam Cooper, who I believe is a journalist, said that it looks like it's a scrutineering issue for Lando. The FIA's Nicholas Tombazis is in the garage in discussion with Andrea Stella, whose media session has been postponed. So there is some kind of issue going on. Whether that is just extraction of the fuels proving difficult because he was quite minimal. We've seen this before with Sebastian Vettel in Hungary, don't forget, when he was fighting Ocon for the win and then got disqualified for lack of fuel. So we will keep you updated.
Max Verstappen was there with a straw drinking the remaining.
I'll drink it out. No, anything to get me back in the championship. Okay, all right. Let's try and focus back up. But I'm sure you guys are enjoying the chaos. Next question, P1 Pitch member Thimmer. With this resurgence of the Red Bull car, where did Verstappen lose the World Drivers' Championship, and why is it Spain?
And why is it when Lando doesn't get disqualified from this race? No,
Tommy, stop.
I'm joking.
See, look, rewind 20 minutes. I was like, look at him. He's got belief in his eyes, and this is pessimistic Tommy.
No. Okay, so to answer this question, the World Championship is won over multiple races. I know everyone will bring it back to Spain. Say Max, it's 9 points, but you can also argue in Spain that they made a ridiculous strategy call, in my opinion, even worse than the one that they made in Brazil, where they should have kept Max out on the tyres in the first place to lead the race with only a few laps to go, and he would have been in a better position. But instead, obviously, they put him on hard tyres that were terrible. And you can look at so many incidents where, like, Red Bull lost the championship from, like, Kimi Antonelli crashing into him, or Brazil them pitting him, or Spain. At the end of the day, like, the Red Bull has not been consistently fast enough, and that is the problem with Max Verstappen's title. It's almost like a minor miracle, and of course I'm saying this as a fanboy, like, but that he is even in this championship. And yes, when he's had a good car, he's been able to deliver. And I think had he had a good car all season long, I don't think even the biggest Max Verstappen haters will say that he wouldn't have been challenging for this World Championship and potentially even winning it, because, we've seen how he's done in the past, and every time he's had a good car underneath him, he has been able to extract almost always the best result out of it and bag a load of points. Whereas, for me, they will lose the World Championship because McLaren have been far more consistent with their pace all year, whereas the Red Bull have flopped and changed. Midpoint of the season, McLaren were getting 1-2 every week, and Red Bull were nowhere. Like that for me is the stage where they lost the championship because they didn't have the car to do it.
Yeah, for sure. I think, we spoke about drivers, world champions, and the consistency they have to show, but also the team. And McLaren have been the best team this year. They've done a phenomenal job with their car, and almost every single race we've gone to, they've been competitive. It's just such a shame that Max, at that start of the year, yes, he had some amazing standout performances, but he also had moments where he was being beaten by other teams around him, as well as McLaren. So, yeah, it's a tough one, I'm sure, for Max to sort of process, because I'm sure he feels like he's put down a very good season, but it's not been quite enough. It literally had to be a perfect season, not yeeting George Russell at Spain, not getting yeeted by Kimi Antonelli in Austria. Things like that add up. So it's not over, apparently. So we'll wait and see.
But it also might be very soon.
Yeah, it may well be. We have to assume that it's going to be absolutely
Jokes
fine.
aside.
I'm seeing social media literally explode before my eyes about Lando being investigated. Lando's left the circuit apparently as well, and they're like, "What could this mean?" It seems very similar to the champagne drinking, if I'm being completely honest with you.
Yeah.
But yeah, Red Bull. I genuinely felt like it was going to be a much worse season for Max and Red Bull this year than what it. Of course, I predicted him world champion, but that was kind of like. That was before the season started, but when I saw how good McLaren were, I was like, oh, surely Red Bull are just going to pack it up after Spain. Of course, they were going to bring a massive upgrade package there. It didn't obviously massively work because Max was, had that meltdown. And then after that, I just thought Red Bull go, right, let's just focus for 26 and beyond. But then they had this resurgence, of course, having Mekis at the helm as well. I think he's done a brilliant job to
deserves a huge
sort
amount
of
credit.
remove the toxicity at the team and really sort of have them pointing in the right direction. And I firmly believe that having engineers at the top of teams is something we're going to see more and more of because, Daddy Valves, what a guy, at Williams, he's doing a brilliant job there.
Well, look at Komatsu as well with what he's done with Haas compared to Steiner. I think it's shown up and down the grid that it works. So
exactly. Okay, next question. P1 Patreon member Sarah0433. What was that turn one move from Bortoleto? It was very, as Martin Brundle might say, a day late and $1 short. That was a very poor move from Bortoleto. He gets a 5-place grid drop for the next race and 2 penalty points, which is actually his first penalty points, or at least the first on his license now. He's now on 2 of 12. It was a very poor move. It's easily done, I think. And, with Vegas, it's such a short run down towards turn one. It seemed like, and I've done this many times on the Formula One game, but fortunately for me, I don't have the consequences of it being in real life.
Where
you just outbrake yourself on lap one, heavy fuel, on the dirty part of the dirty side of the track, and it was a big impact and absolutely wiped out Lance Stroll out of the race. So for Bortoleto, it was very poor. Of course, he clearly felt like he needed to make up something from qualifying. It's a rookie error, a big old rookie error. We can stamp that right there and then. But yeah, a weekend to forget for Gabby.
Definitely, and I think for Gabby, unfortunately, it's been quite a run of races to forget for him, or particularly like maybe not a run of races, but in terms of his performance towards the end of the season, he had this amazing kind of run where quite rightfully we were giving him a huge amount of credit and saying that he's been probably quite underrated as one of the rookies this season, but he's had a few scruffy races, and this is another moment where, like very much the first thing I thought of was public lobby in a video game vibes of turn one, where someone is far too ambitious late on the brakes and plows into everyone. And yeah, not the best moment for Bortoleto for sure.
No, certainly not. Okay, question from Mr. Bear 15. Why did F1 put so much effort into the post-race show? I know it's Vegas, but still.
You answered your own question. It's Vegas. Formula One put their own money into it. They are... The whole point of Vegas is it's this massive show. That's what Formula One want to do. I do think Vegas is literally like a final level boss for Formula One fans that don't like the this side of the sport. Like your Max Verstappens, where they think it's all showy and not about the racing. Where it's almost like, how much can we do to wind up old school Formula One fans that only care about the racing? Let's put Mickey Mouse doing the fountain display. Let's have Terry Crews in a pink Cadillac made out of Lego.
I will not hear any slander for Terry Crews in the pink Cadillac.
I will not hear that. I love it. I love that. Yeah, it was amazing. That was great. But the thing with that is, what I like about that is it involves the drivers. So like that's good. Like I like that from that situation. But the Mickey Mouse thing, I know they have to like delay the podium, but it was very much just like one massive Disney advert to advertise Disney. But look, you've got to pay for the race somehow for 10 years, and Disney have a lot of money, so I'm sure Mickey Mouse will probably be breakdancing next year, and with Goofy, and probably a lot more things to come with that.
Yeah, it's look, I quite enjoyed it when they brought in the F1 themes tune in a sort of orchestral version, and it was quite a cool thing. So, oh God, honestly, I can't stop just keeping an eye on what's going on.
Now just seeing the John Noble message.
What's that?
Basically, the podium cars are yet to be released from Parc Fermé, and the FIA single-seater boss was seen talking to Andrea Stella in the McLaren box. ... So
apparently as well, I've just heard that the FIA is still in Lando's garage as far as right now. And I know that everybody listening wants to hear about Mickey Mouse and our thoughts on that.
Like, this is the most ridiculous podcast ever, that we're essentially like...
I'm quite enjoying it.
Yeah, I love the chaos of it. We're getting like a live... I feel like we're on like... Sky Sports News or something, where we're like over to Twitter. We'll carry on talking about Mickey Mouse until we know what is the championship implications.
What? Okay, all right. Question from Matt Gallagher: what could be the next Disney lights display, and where do you think it will be? No, I'm joking. But back to the post-race show thing and stuff. We were kind of sat there going, why don't they put that at the start? Like, it felt like that was a much better place to sort of put some kind of fountain show at the end. But of course, they needed to fill time to make the podium whole thing happen.
Yeah, because they don't have the podium by the... they want it in front of the...
Yeah, they wanted it on the track. So in front of, I guess, all the spectators.
The fancy hotel
like
and fountain and stuff.
And of course, the hotel and the people that have paid the big bucks. It's Vegas. I will actually say, right, I don't mind some of the Vegas stuff. What I do mind is random celebrities interviewing at the end of the race, being like, I've got to say, man, I'm just such a fan of what you guys do. Like, it just brings absolutely nothing to the broadcast.
You guys
when you
go
want to
so
hear from the
fast,
drivers. It's
crazy.
Yeah, it's stuff like that, and you're like, that's what ruins it. Whereas, like, I don't mind the over-the-top silly stuff. I really don't, because it's different, and I like to. I mean, we have had the best moment ever in Formula One history when the announcer screamed Sergio Perez. I have watched that video
I watch it every
hundreds of
time.
times. And it's the
way Perez reacts is the most
like,
Michael Scott moment ever.
Where do I go? It is my favourite clip of all time.
Yeah,
I saw it resurface.
Good.
I was like, it brings me so much joy.
But you do wonder with the Vegas stuff, just going back to the Vegas stuff, like, you do wonder how, like, this is what surprised me about Vegas is when they put it on, I thought, okay, like 2 or 3 years, they put it on, they pay loads of money to have it. 10 years, like, is it going to hit the same in like year 5, year 6, year 7? Seems a bit, it seems a lot to do it for 10 years. Like, by year 10, what is it? What's it going to be like?
2035.
I thought you were about to say something like refreshing Twitter.
No, I was doing some mental maths. So Tommy, theoretically, right? Okay,
no.
I just like seeing the hope in your eyes. Okay, so say this happens. Lando's still leading the championship, 9 points ahead of Oscar Piastri, 24.
24. It'd be 24. Yeah.
24 ahead of Matt. Honestly, like, I'm not even like, Lando
it changes
deserves
completely.
His world championship, and it would be very sad for him if he was to be disqualified for something like fuel, which is literally nothing to do with him. Really,
exactly.
That this is a team blunder, and this is an absolute fumble and a half by McLaren. If they genuinely, this is all ifs, of course, but if they have made an error here and Lando's disqualified, this is a generational fumble from McLaren.
Yeah,
but
100%.
Yeah, we just have to wait and
see.
I want to
say,
I would
actually,
feel sorry for Lando.
On the where we mentioned about, like, where did Verstappen lose the World Drivers' Championship in Spain? One thing I wanted to, like, bring out as well is, like, you can say that about anyone in the World Championship. Like, you can we've seen it in, like, years gone by. And equally with, like, Lando, like, had he not had the Zandvoort car failure, he's winning it. He's, like, basically won it already. So
he'd
like,
probably win it in the sprint next
exactly.
time out.
There's so many situations where that's happened. So every driver's had their up and downs, basically. And it's only when someone doesn't win, you look back on these moments and go, oh, if this had happened, if this had happened. But the Formula One World Championship is won over a lot of races. So
24. Okay, let's go to biggest winner, driver or team. Ooh, who?
It's Lando Norris until we find out. Because I genuinely think at the moment, like, he's got one, all being well with the investigation. Like, it's a massive result for him to get P2 as well at a track that wasn't favoured by them. This could have been a race where it had swung quite a lot, and actually, he's ahead of Piastri again. Only lost a few points to Max, and it's now looking very good.
I don't know if I can give Lando the biggest winner here. Carlos Sainz, I think, is an absolute shout. Phenomenal qualifying. Didn't get a penalty because Lance Stroll was like, "Don't worry about it, mate. We're all good." And then finishing P7, which I think on pure pace was the best he could have done today. Hulkenberg deserves a shout as well. Up in ninth, scoring a couple of points, and not really getting any kind of plaudits. It felt like. So I think for me, I'm going to give it to Carlos Sainz because I think he's had a brilliant weekend again in that Williams.
Yeah, I think Carlos Sainz is a great shout actually. Underrated really. Like, he's just been so good the last few races. We're really seeing the Carlos Sainz now that we kind of thought we'd see from the start.
Yeah, we love to see it for Carlos. What about biggest loser? Well, this one could be fill in the blank should things happen that we still don't know as of right now. It feels like I'm doing a live stream, but it's a podcast.
I think
it's going to be so funny people listening back to this in a few hours' time.
Yeah, when nothing happens. I think Sainz's teammate is a
Albon
great shout.
Albon had an absolute stinker.
Yeah, he really did.
And it wasn't just one thing, was it? It was about 3 or 4 things that Albon...
Yeah, and then if you include his crash in qualifying as well.
Yeah, I think Albon is 100% the biggest loser for this weekend.
Oh my freaking lord.
What?
Both McLarens referred to Stewart for skidwear issues. What? What?
No. Where are you seeing this?
Breaking news. Chris Medland, Luke Smith, Phil Horton, all the journalists have just tweeted it. Both McLarens risked disqualification from the Vegas Grand Prix due to non-compliance of skidwear. My heart is beating out my chest right now.
Oh, what the...
Oh my God.
Nah. What are we going to do? We can't have a 4-hour podcast waiting for this to come in.
Oh my God. Do we what do we do? What do we do? Because it's going to change the whole thing.
We're going to have another podcast later on. I can't go back to sleep.
Oh my God.
Right, Tommy, let's just focus up for a second.
All right, we'll focus up. We'll finish
ridiculous.
the podcast and then we'll do another one. We'll find out.
We're going to have the Las Vegas Grand Prix review pre-disqualification and post-disqualification if it happens. Nah, if they've both been referred, this has to be a slam dunk. Mate, this is China all over again.
Why have they put... what did I say? 2007, why would they go ham and push... What the actual... Wait a sec.
What are you doing? You're putting the "But Daddy, I Love Him" t-shirt on, aren't you? Oh my God, the measured thickness of the rearmost skid was less than 9mm on both. Oh my God. Oh my God. Tommy.
What?
The measured thickness of the rearmost skid was less than 9mm on both cars. That's usually a straight DSQ. That's what Chris Meslin just said.
Okay, is championship back on? Okay.
Bruv.
Mate, I can't believe this. What are we going to do? What are we going to do?
Right. Thanks, guys, for listening to the podcast.
Well, should we... do we pause
I
this?
don't know.
I don't know what to do.
I don't know what to do. I feel like people are going to want to have our reaction, but they also probably want to listen to all of this.
Yeah. So we just do a 3-hour bumper episode.
Yeah, we'll just do an additional one afterwards. So, okay, let's just finish what we were doing, because this could still take a while. So my one crazy prediction was no McLaren on the podium, which might actually come in.
Oh my God. All McLaren pit stops under 3 seconds.
No, it doesn't
that
matter,
did
they're
actually happen.
No, but if they're disqualified, mate, the pit stops never happen. So,
okay.
No, I'm kidding. That one was a point for you. Our Patreon prediction, mine was Sky Sierra rookie on the podium, which would happen. Antonelli would be on the podium.
Oh my God, this is changing the whole complexion.
This
and
is
also
changing the complexion of
I'd have Russell would have been second, so my prediction would change there. We're going to have to redo predictions as well at the end of when we find
Don't worry,
this out.
everyone. You will get an update.
You'll get an update
in the next predictions episode, or to be fair, you'll get an update
God.
In the bumper episode that we're absolutely going to have to do when this comes out.
Yeah.
I'm going to have a heart attack. I don't know how you're feeling, mate. Literally, this is
my
ridiculous.
heart is beating out my chest right now.
Family top 3 is currently 10-9 to the Bellinghams. This could all change. My dad went for George Russell P3, which was correct. Go on, lad. But that might now not happen.
That might be P2. My wife went for Charles Leclerc P3, which, he'll finish fourth.
Fourth, he will, yeah. And also, I can't believe I just said go on, lad, to my own dad. I'm sorry about that, Dad. I'm not even thinking right now. In second place, I went for Max Verstappen. My dad went for Max Verstappen. I can't even think.
My wife Katie went for George Russell, which could be the case.
I feel like we need to like do a live stream. I feel like we're gonna, as soon as we've done this, we might as well just go live. Just wait for the news. Oh my God! In first place, my dad went for Lando Norris, which was incorrect.
And my wife went for Max Verstappen, which was correct. Well done.
Okay, so as of right now, we've both scored a point, the family top 3.
But it could be 2 points to me, none for you.
All right, now let's keep the McLarens in.
Don't you dare.
Need to keep the family top 3.
I can't believe this.
Right, everybody, thank you so much. We will see you very soon. If you're a Patreon, we will carry on for a few more questions and probably more meltdowns. So if you want to join the P1 Patreon, this is probably a great time to do it. But yes, thank you. I don't even know. This is the weirdest, craziest podcast we've ever done.
I don't know what to say.
I don't know either, to be honest with you. There you go. Right, let's get into our predictions. Now that we know the result, we've already recorded this, but then this was when we were having a meltdown. And so now we actually know the result. We can see what the predictions championship looks like between myself and Tommy. It's currently 51-48 to Tom Bellingham. We now go to a good surprise, where I went for Lewis Hamilton, who ended up 8th from qualifying 20th. We've got a live chat here. I'm just... I know it's the biggest stretch in the world.
That is the biggest stretch.
4 points for Hamilton. 4 points for Hamilton from 20th on the grid.
Hamilton becoming a driver, the first right driver to qualify last.
Yeah, the amount of people spamming no. I know. It's a joke. It's a joke. 0 points.
I went for Pierre Gasly, who ended up... Where did he end up in the end? Because
15th, but then 13th now with the disqualifications.
I was hoping
good try, mate. Yeah, you thought you got
worth
a point.
A shot.
No. Double Haas points, though, so that's something. A big flop. So I went for Lando Norris. And I know some people will be like, but he didn't flop, Matt. Like, he still finished second. He got disqualified. That is a point. But that's really annoying because we now go over to Tommy,
who said McLaren and gets the double pointer.
And McLaren gets the double pointer. So
there we go.
That I've won, but at what cost is basically me getting the big flop for Lando. Pole position, that doesn't change. I went for Charles Leclerc. Sadly, he still didn't get pole position.
And I went for Max Verstappen.
Which did not happen. In third place, we need 5 more disqualifications for this to happen. Lewis Hamilton, it was my third place.
And my third place was Lando Norris.
Which was incorrect. In second, I went for Max Verstappen, which was wrong.
And I went for George Russell, which is now correct.
As if you get another point for that as well. We're so cooked. And in first place, I went for Charles Leclerc, which sadly did not happen. We need another 3 disqualifications.
And I went for Kimi Antonelli, who, of course, did end up on the podium.
Which is mad.
He literally
17th on the grid to 3rd. Antonelli is a double Merc podium. So Speaking of, my one crazy prediction was no McLaren on the podium. That's come in.
Well,
Don't you dare. Michael Massey this
time. I know,
topic.
we will.
No McLaren on the podium. They did not finish technically on the top 3. So I am getting a no McLaren, even though Lando's still on the podium.
Oh my God. Yeah, and I said all McLaren pit stops under 3 seconds, which they did, and then probably got disqualified. But it doesn't matter. I got the point.
You still get that point, so I'll give you that.
Oh my God.
My Patreon prediction: Sky Sarah, rookie on the podium. Antonelli coming in with the double DSQ down the inside. So that championship is well and truly back on.
Wow. Colapinto finishes in the points, so a few more disqualifications maybe, but no, it's a no pointer.
Okay.
So actually, so weirdly, that made not a huge amount of difference because you bagged
4
2
for you.
Yeah.
And I scored 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh,
wow.
So it's
no
still
change.
3 points. That's fine. I'll take that. It was looking terrible after I backed Ferrari.
You've basically been Oscar Piastri in this situation where I've been disqualified and you take the point.
Absolutely. Okay, let's go to the family top 3 if we have to, because this is where it gets worse. It's currently 10-9 to the boring Bellinghams. So my dad went for 3rd George Russell, which was correct until McLaren decided to wear their skid into the ground.
Wow. My wife went for Charles Leclerc, which he was 2 tenths off.
2 tenths off.
Wow.
Oh my God, your wife was 2 tenths away from a clean sweep.
A perfect prediction. Absolutely crazy.
Wow, I nearly swore because we're live streaming, but this is also the podcast. In 2nd place, I went for Max Verstappen. No. Oh, no, I didn't. My dad did. 2nd, no.
Katie went for George Russell, which was correct.
Yeah, well done, Katie. I hope you're happy with the money. And in 1st place, my dad went for Lando Norris.
And Katie went for Max Verstappen.
Oh, we're 3 behind with 2 races to go.
That is good news though, because so if you missed it if you didn't join us for the live stream, a little story that I told you, Matt, which you found very amusing, was my wife didn't get up to watch the race, but basically, I went in to get this T-shirt, the But Daddy I Love Him Max Verstappen T-shirt. And it's funny because I'm not going to spoil anything, but I'm doing a live stream for like 3 hours after the race because there's been some huge drama and I'm wearing this T-shirt. I think she kind of already concluded what might have been about to happen.
Yes.
I can't believe she was 2 tenths from an absolutely perfect prediction.
2 tenths from a clean sweep is crazy. Especially when she was completely wrong apart from one until a few minutes ago when everything was...
Yeah, crazy.
Oh, mad. But well done, Katie, considering how much she hates doing it.
Yeah,
well
I was going to say, she won't like it because I might have to ring her again and get her predictions.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, look, she scored 2 now, so grace for the rest of the season now, because I'm going to have to get Ellie to do like research, like full-blown deep dive into Qatar and Abu Dhabi to try and score some points for
Ellie's
going
to be like doing researching the McLaren plank issue and whether it's going to cost them and how much they're going to have to raise the ride height and how much lap time it will cost them for Qatar. That's how detailed it's going to be.
For sure. So the last thing I want to do just before I forget is sort of talk about actually who ended up where in the end. So Max won, George was 2nd, Kimi Antonelli was 3rd, Charles Leclerc was 4th, Carlos finished 5th in the end, Hadjar was 6th, Hulkenberg ends up in 7th, Hamilton 8th, and then Ocon 9th and Behrman 10th. So, yeah, absolute madness. I can't believe this is we've been waiting for so long to release this podcast, but blame the FIA. So that is it. Apart from if you are a P1 Patreon, where we'll be carrying on for a few more questions and probably just basically just melting and evaporating for the next few minutes to talking about that and everything else that's gone on. But if you're just a normal listener, then thank you so much for all the support as always. Thank you to everybody that's watching live as well. Big W's in the chat for you guys. Tommy, final thoughts, please.
Final thoughts are, I can't believe that's just happened, and the level of hype. I'll obviously, like, as a Formula One fan, I'll always be there no matter what. But the hype going into those final 2 races now, compared to like being like, the championship is a bit shame that it's a bit anticlimactic. Of course, you never know how it's going to go, but my God, the hype in Qatar is going to be insane.
It certainly is, even for Tommy, maybe. So let's see how that goes. Thank you, everybody, once again. And thank you for everyone that's been voting for us for the Autosport Awards as well for Creator of the Year. Really appreciate it. And we will see you very soon. Lots of love. Bye.
Bye.